Percy in the snow. Winter had come to the island of Sodor. The Fat Controller's railway was covered in snow. The engines had to work hard. They had to deliver their trains as well as clear the lines at the same time. The engines were all very busy, except for Percy. He was stuck at the post depot and he was raring to go. "I hate waiting around," he sighed. Just then, Duck puffed up towards him. "Hello, Percy," he tooted. "Aren't we all busy?" "Not me," moaned Percy. "I want to get onto the main line. It's boring waiting here." "Be patient," said Duck. "It's important to make sure the line is clear before you go. Snow can be tricky." And Duck puffed away. Percy didn't like waiting around. He liked being busy with his jobs. At last the postmaster arrived. "It's all clear for you now, Percy," he said, "but please be careful. The tracks will be slippery, so make sure you puff carefully." "Yes, sir," said Percy, but he was sure he could get his post deliveries done quickly. He blew his whistle and then set off out of the post depot. Percy puffed along the line, but he was going a bit too quick. His driver tried to slow him down. "Steady, boy," he called. "We need to be careful." "I am being careful," puffed Percy. "I'm trying to make up for lost time." "There's a difference between making up for lost time and being careful," cautioned his driver. "Remember that, won't you?" "Yes, sir," moaned Percy, but he was determined to be on time. He puffed past Donald and Douglas with the works train. The twins were surprised. "Slow down," whistled Donald. "You'll have an accident," shouted Douglas. "Not me," puffed Percy. "I'll be okay." The tracks up ahead were slippery, but Percy wasn't paying any attention. Suddenly, his wheels began to slip. He slid along the line up the track. "Oh no!" cried Percy. "Help!" His driver applied his brake, but Percy wouldn't stop. He whistled as loud as he could. Luckily, the signalman heard the whistle and set the points for a siding. Percy left the main line and saw the buffers. He shut his eyes and waited for the crash. Then he slowed down and hit the buffers with a thump. Luckily, no one was hurt, but Percy felt a pain in his buffers. "You!" he wheezed. His driver and fireman checked him all over to see if he was hurt. "That was lucky, Percy," said his driver. "There's no damage done, but I suggest you be very careful this time." "I'm sorry, sir," sighed Percy. "I hope you are," said his driver. "Now let's get going. We're late." Percy backed carefully out of the siding and the signalman switched the points. Then Percy set off down the line. Now Percy was very worried. "We're going to be very late now," he puffed to himself. He really wanted to make up for lost time, but he wasn't sure how. Soon he reached the junction. Rosie and James were there. Rosie was waiting with her train of coal trucks and James was pulling a train of firewood. "This weather is nothing but trouble," groaned James. "This snow is causing problems for all of us."
"I hate the snow," said Rosie. "It's very hard to puff through."
"Stop the nonsense," huffed Percy. "Snow is silly soft stuff. Thomas said so." James and Rosie were surprised to hear this. "Snow may be tricky, but I am stronger than snow," Percy gloated.
"I'd think twice if I were you,"
put in Rosie.
"The snow can be deep and snow can easily come out of nowhere."
"Ah," said Percy. "If I saw a pile of snow, I'd just push it out of the way."
"Really?"
sniffed James. Then the signal changed to green, and Percy set off again. Rosie whistled loudly to Percy.
"Be careful," she called. "The tracks up ahead will be slippery."
But Percy didn't hear Rosie, and he disappeared into the distance. Percy puffed around the bend to continue his journey. His driver was worried. "Careful, Percy," he called. "We don't want another accident." Percy was getting fed up with being reminded. "I'll be fine," he puffed, "as long long as I'm on time, that's all that matters. His driver and fireman decided not to argue with Percy because they knew he wouldn't listen. Percy was sure he could be on time. I may have made a late start, he said to himself, but I know I can make my deliveries arrive for sure. Up ahead, Percy saw Belle at the level crossing. They were repairing the level crossing gates and putting grit on the road. Percy's driver put a hand on his brake. Hang on, Percy, he roared. We better stop to see what the situation is. Percy moaned, but it was no use. His driver drew Percy to a halt right next to Belle. His driver spoke to the workman. Belle was pleased to see Percy, but quickly saw he wasn't happy.
What's the matter, Percy?
She asked kindly. Percy told Belle all about his late start with the post train and about his bad luck in the snow. Belle could understand what Percy was saying, but she was worried for his safety.
I have to agree with your driver, said Belle. We all need to take care through snow, and we all know how dangerous snow can be.
Percy sighed. He felt like he was being treated like a little engine. Why is everyone reminding me? He asked. I know I'm a bit careless in the snow, but I'm a strong engine as well.
We're all just concerned about you, Percy,
soothed Belle.
We all want you to be safe.
Percy's driver soon returned. We need to take care of the hill tracks, he explained. There are slippery tracks up there, and there's a danger of avalanches. Belle was worried about this.
Take care, Percy, she cautioned. If you get stuck, I'll have to come and help you.
Don't worry, puffed Percy. I'm sure I can make it. And Percy puffed away, leaving Belle looking more concerned than ever.
I hope he makes it,
she puffed to herself. Percy soon reached the hill track. As he started puffing up the track, his driver and fireman decided to keep a lookout. An avalanche could come out of nowhere, said the driver. We had better watch the track up ahead. I think we'd better tell Percy to watch out too, suggested the fireman. We don't want to get stuck. The driver agreed, so he leaned out of the cab. Percy, watch out for avalanches, he called. We can't risk getting stuck. But Percy wasn't listening to his driver. He was too busy trying to climb the hill. Come along, he puffed to the mail coaches. Percy huffed and puffed. His wheels spun, but he still kept on. Then at last, he reached the top. Percy was pleased. I made it, he cried. Hooray! And he blew a loud whistle. His whistle was so loud, it made a pile of snow on a ledge shake up ahead. His driver looked and saw the first lot of snow fall onto the track. Avalanche! He cried. Stop, Percy! Percy looked ahead and gasped. He could see the pile of snow. His driver applied the brakes, but Percy's wheels slipped on the icy rails. Percy shut his eyes as he got closer and closer. Then it happened. A large pile of snow fell from the ledge and landed right on top of Percy. Percy was stuck. Oh no, he groaned. Now what? His driver got out to inspect the mess. Well, he said sternly, I'll have to go back for help. So the driver walked back down the line to find help. The fireman wasn't sure what to do. Can't you just clear the snow off me? Asked Percy. That would take ages, said his fireman. I only have a coal shovel. Percy gave a sad sigh. All he could do now was wait in the snow for help to arrive. Back at the level crossing, Belle was still thinking about Percy. She was hoping he hadn't run into trouble. The workmen were drinking their hot cocoa. Then Percy's driver came up to see them. Percy needs help, he said. An avalanche has got him trapped, and we need Belle to push him out. Belle gasped when she heard this.
Oh no, she said. We better go and help him.
Percy's driver joined Belle's crew, and Belle set off to the rescue.
I hope he's okay,
puffed Belle worriedly. Percy stood sadly in the snow. He He didn't feel strong enough at all now. His fireman was making sure his fire was kept alight. Percy was thinking about what his driver and his friends had said.
I wish I had listened to them,
He sighed.
then I wouldn't have got myself into trouble.
I hope you understand how important safety is now, said his fireman firmly.
Yes, I do,
Said Percy. Then, Percy heard a whistle from behind. He was pleased to hear who it was.
It's Belle.
He smiled. He wanted to whistle, but he dared not in case he brought another avalanche down. Belle puffed up behind Percy.
Percy,
She cried when she saw the mess.
don't worry, I'll get you out.
The drivers and firemen got to work clearing the snow off Percy. After a long time, Percy was free. Now let's get you going again, said his driver. So while the driver and fireman climbed back into Percy's cab, Belle's driver and fireman put hot cinders in front of Belle's wheels to help melt the ice. This was to help Belle get a strong grip on the rails. When everything was ready, Belle buffered up to the brake van.
Ready?
Called Belle.
Me too,
Replied Percy. 1, 2, 3, push, said Belle's driver. Belle pushed and pushed as hard as she could. Her wheels spun and spun, but Belle didn't give up. At last, with a mighty shove, Percy was out of the snowy mess. Percy was relieved.
Thank you, Belle.
He cheered.
My pleasure, Percy.
Smiled Belle. We'd better make a move, Percy, said his fireman. We're very late. Then, Percy had an idea.
Please, sir, can Belle help us down the hill?
He asked his driver.
She can be our back engine.
His driver thought this was a good idea. He talked to Belle's crew and they agreed.
I'll help you down the hill, Percy.
Smiled Belle.
We'll help you to the next station.
Percy beamed from buffer to buffer. Now he didn't feel worried anymore. Soon the two friends were on their way again. They puffed carefully along the track and they kept a lookout for other avalanches. Luckily there were no more to worry about. After a long journey they reached the end of the hill track. Percy was pleased about this.
We're going to make it,
He whistled to Belle.
nearly there.
Peeped Belle. They soon puffed into Abbey Station. Percy was pleased when they stopped at the platform. Then he looked into the sidings. There was James, Rosie and Duck having a long rest. They laughed when they saw Percy. Oh dear Percy, chuckled Duck. Been playing in the snow, have you?
I thought you were stronger than snow.
Teased James.
Serves you right.
Laughed Rosie.
You should have been more careful.
Percy felt sillier than ever. He wished now he hadn't been so boastful. Belle blew a loud whistle.
That's enough,
She puffed.
Percy has learnt his lesson now, and I think we should all be happy for that. True, he may not have listened to us, but at least he knows that safety comes first.
Percy felt pleased Belle stuck up for him, but he wished his friends wouldn't stop laughing at him. But I think it serves him right. Don't you?